Hello and welcome back to Nerd Doc. The Sandman adaptation you've all been waiting for has finally arrived on Netflix. This video explains the Sandman ending and general plot points, as well as what we might expect from Season 2 of The Sandman. There will be spoilers for The Sandman in this video. This is your spoiler warning. There are chapter timestamps if you'd like to jump around the video, and if you have any questions or just want to let us know what you thought of the Netflix adaptation, leave a comment below. We know The Sandman can be a lot to take in, especially if you've never read the comic series. While we can't cover everything in this video, we'll try to respond to as many additional questions as we can, so leave a comment if you have a question on something we didn't cover in the video. First we'll cover some of the general plot points, then jump into the ending and Season 2 theories. While we won't detail every single difference between the comics and the Netflix series, there are a number of changes, some more significant than others. Comic purists may take issue with the changes, but most of the key plot points remain intact. The Sandman focuses primarily on the Endless, with Dream, also known as Morpheus and many other names, being the main character. For all practical purposes, the Endless are basically gods. The first season of The Sandman only focuses on half of the Endless, which means if we get a second season, the remaining Endless will likely be introduced. The Endless in Season 1 are Dream, Death, Despair, and Desire. Lucifer is not one of the Endless, but she is still very powerful. As you might expect from their names, each one of the Endless rules over a specific aspect of humanity. For instance, Morpheus, or Dream, rules over humanity's dreams and nightmares. In Season 2, we might also see cat dreams since they are featured in the comics. There are many aspects of the Sandman which cross over into various other mythologies. For example, the three witches are featured throughout the first season, which not only serve the role of prophets who speak in riddles and never quite give you a straight answer, but are also a nod to Shakespeare as well as classic Greek mythology. In fact, Shakespeare shows up in Season 1 as a lackluster writer and is heavily influenced by Morpheus to become the writer we all know today. The main plot of Season 1 is that Desire is looking to get rid of Morpheus. Desire works together with Despair, some of the nightmares Morpheus created, a few humans, and Lucifer in an attempt to remove Morpheus from the picture and potentially overthrow his realm, known as the Dreaming. Each one of the Endless rules over their specific realm, but like humans, many of them want more. More power, more realms to rule over, more of everything. Morpheus has a few allies of his own, including many of his creations and inhabitants of the Dreaming. This includes Fiddler's Green, also known as Gilbert, Morpheus' librarian Lucian, who is one of his most loyal subjects, Johanna Constantine, ancestor of John Constantine, who hunts demons and various other creatures of the occult, the Sandman versions of Cain and Abel from the Bible and various other tales, complete with Cain killing Abel on a daily basis, and more. Morpheus is also allied with Death, who appears in one episode, and Destiny, who won't be seen until at least next season. A new character in the Netflix series is Gault. Gault started off as a nightmare created by Morpheus, but she wanted to do good and therefore helped Jed Walker deal with his disturbing real-life situation. Gault is essentially the Netflix version of Brute and Glob from the comics, who were also nightmares created by Morpheus. While Desire is pulling the strings in the background, the main antagonist of Season 1 is the Corinthian, a nightmare created by Morpheus to serve the purpose of giving some people nightmares when they sleep. However, the Corinthian goes rogue and escapes to the waking world where he becomes a serial killer. He uses his knowledge of Morpheus' weaknesses to continually attempt to stop him from ending the Corinthian's reign of terror. The end of Season 1 focuses primarily on the Dream Vortex and her family. The Dream Vortex, currently known as Rose Walker, has the ability to influence dreams similar to Morpheus himself. In fact, toward the end of the season, there are several instances in which she has more power than Morpheus, where Morpheus is powerless to stop her. The Dream Vortex only appears every 1,000 years or so, but if it's not killed, it can end humanity by breaking down the walls between individual dreams and the walls between dreams and reality. This has happened in the past, and the universe had to be reset, so to speak. You can kind of view the Dream Vortex like Neo from the Matrix movies. Neo existed because of an anomaly in the Matrix programming, with Neo being the only way to correct that problem. The Dream Vortex is somewhat similar, although obviously it came first, in that their appearances are rare but consistent and they have a great deal of power. While Rose Walker is a Dream Vortex, this is only because of Desire's meddling. The Dream Vortex was supposed to be Unity Kincaid, however, while Morpheus was locked away for over 100 years, the Dream Vortex couldn't manifest. Desire impregnated Unity while she was in a decades-long slumber due to the absence of Morpheus, which allowed the Dream Vortex power to shift down the family line to Rose. As the season winds down, the Corinthian sets a trap at the serial killer convention. He puts everyone to sleep, dreaming about their preferred killing method. Rose is sleeping in her room at the hotel, which allows her to cross over into all of these dreams, powering her up considerably while simultaneously stripping Morpheus of his power. With a little help from Morpheus' appearance in her dream, Rose is able to control her power, and Morpheus puts an end to the Corinthian. Unity Kincaid appears in the dreaming, which is when she mentions someone with golden eyes is the person who impregnated her. This detail allows Morpheus to realize this was all Desire's doing, since they're the only person with golden eyes. When Morpheus confronts Desire, they accept their failure, but make it clear this isn't over. They even mention that the next time they will draw blood instead of acting from behind the scenes. Dream is creating new dreams and nightmares, partially to replace the ones he banished to the darkness, which is the pleasing dreams of children in the comics, but serves the purpose of solitary confinement in the Netflix show, as well as the ones he had to destroy like the Corinthian. Although Morpheus had Lucian hold on to the small skull he used to create the Corinthian. That means the Corinthian will be coming back in future seasons, but he'll be a much more loyal version of the character. One of the dreams Morpheus created is Gault. Morpheus originally banished Gault into the darkness for not performing her duties and serving as a dream instead of a nightmare. Gault argued that people can change and so can dreams. Throughout the season, Morpheus' various experiences taught him a number of valuable lessons and allowed him to change and better understand humanity and his own creations. Because of this, he brought Gault back as a dream instead of a nightmare. We also see Lucifer in hell at the end of the season. She's bored, but the demon Azazel appears before her and gives her a slight nudge into starting a war that we'll likely see in Season 2. In the comics, Azazel is equal in authority to Lucifer when it comes to ruling over hell. He was more of a subordinate in the Netflix series, but has a dialogue with the demon generals of hell, which he uses to force Lucifer's hand. Granted, he didn't push Lucifer into anything she didn't already want to do, but the war wouldn't have happened this quickly without his meddling. The plan is to invade the other realms, specifically the Dreaming and Earth, in order to expand the territory of Hell. Since demons can't leave Hell, expanding the realm to encompass everything means that they'll be able to go anywhere they want without actually leaving Hell. The Silver City is also mentioned during this scene, which is about as close as you can get to heaven. It's where the angels reside. So what can we expect out of Season 2? First off, a second season has not yet been confirmed at the time this video was recorded. The creative team behind the Sandman is already writing the second season and are confident it will happen, but the success of Season 1 will determine if Netflix actually gives it the green light. Assuming we get a second season, it's a little difficult to determine exactly what direction they'll go with. Based on Lucifer's comments at the end of the first season, Hell is about to start a war. However, that's not Lucifer's arc in the comics. Netflix would be taking a lot of liberties if Lucifer starts a war in Season 2, which is where it definitely seems to be going. That will likely be the underlying story arc that runs through all of Season 2, while many of the comic book arcs are intertwined throughout the season, similar to how Season 1 was done. Any future war against Morpheus in the Dreaming will likely include the other Endless to some extent. Fighting against Morpheus, you would have Desire, Despair, and Lucifer at the very least. Season 1 also laid some groundwork setting up Lita's son to eventually become Morpheus' successor. That likely won't happen in Season 2, but it's coming at some point if the series continues. During Season 1, Morpheus laid claim to the child since it was conceived in the Dreaming. And in the comics, something very similar happens, with the child eventually taking over as King of the Dreaming. So what did you think of Season 1 of The Sandman? Did the changes from the comics bother you? Was it as good as you had hoped it would be? And what are you expecting from a potential Season 2? Let us know in the comments below. For now, that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves The Sandman.